Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding and chill. I'm your host Johnny. I hope you've had amazing weeks. You're gonna have even more amazing weekends and that you'll get to learn and have fun with me as well. This is the continuation of our portfolio series. This is the third episode. We've done 2 marathon streams already and we went from zero to this Svelte wizard to this portfolio site that can be amended as well to be a marketing site, and I strongly recommend as a starter project, reach out to DMs today, tell people that you want to make the portfolio or marketing site, and that's how you'd learn the best, you'd learn fast, and you may even make some money. You'll definitely have more credibility for your CV, because when you work with real clients for paid projects, then you can put it on your CV and people will not challenge you, will not say, oh, that's just like a bootcamp project. And I cannot believe that each of the previous streams were over 5 hours long because they were super fun. They were great to do and we learned a lot. I can't believe it from the amount of stuff that we've actually done. So let me switch to the desktop view and we can see that we are fetching some data here on the backend. So this site can be statically rendered as well. We have internationalization going on. We have a contact page that just has the socials, so no contact form, but that's something you can discuss with the client for sure. Light mode, dark mode. We've got lots of things going on here. And we'll be doing even more things today. Although today I do think it's going to be a shorter and even more chill stream. Let's see, maybe it's 5 hours later and you point back to this and you say, John, did you remember 5 hours ago when you said it's going to be a shorter stream? We'll see. We do have an agenda, but it doesn't have 50 items. It doesn't have like dozens and dozens of items like we had before. The links are in the description for everything, including this site. This is a live site. You can go, you can click around, you can see what works, what doesn't. We're going to improve it if it doesn't work, and we can just say we're awesome if everything does work perfectly. You can even add translations to your own language at some point. Today, we will be adding favicons. You may notice that we are still stuck with the generic default Svelte favicon here, which isn't even Svelte prime orange anymore. It's this sad gray one, which makes me think that the server is not working or something. So we'll be adding our own brand and our own favicon here. Also, we'll be getting into doing more complex stuff for the next series, talking to databases, authenticating users and that sort of thing. And to do that in this series, which is more of a starter, primer, foundations type of thing, we will have dynamic routes. So I imagine that you can click on any one of these links and then you open up and you see even more photos of our lovely little critters. This is a portfolio site for a made-up photographer who takes action shots of these mochi cute animals. So you click here and with dynamic routing and Svelte will be rendering more images for this thing, which you don't have to do for a static portfolio site or a marketing page, but you will usually often find actually that people do like having their projects like up and center somewhere in the homepage. And then if you want to know more about the project, then you can see the whole case study. You click, you go to the project, and then you find more information. So it is important to learn. And all these series are about building up from zero to being able to deploy more and more complex projects. Everything is tested as well, including the language switcher. At this point, we didn't do this on stream, we did it offline, so I'm gonna recap how we did it shortly. Let me know in the chat what we are working on today or what you'd like me to see tackle next. I'll say again, reach out to people and see if you can get them to get you to design their own portfolio or marketing site. Working with real people really helps. For example, here, I'm not gonna do like a contact form, but someone may really have wanted a contact form. I would be trying to convince them, do you really need a contact form in 2024 when you have your socials, for example? Don't you actually want people to reach out on your Instagram or whatever? And maybe they say, no, like this is table stakes, I need a contact form. And then I would do it, and then I would show here on the stream how we would be implementing that. But as it stands, I don't think it's a good idea to have a contact form for no reason, so I won't be showing that information. A better idea would be a client that will be telling you, I want a mailing list. I want a way to capture people's emails. I've heard that getting leads is like all the rage, and that's what I want to do today. So I would be convinced to add a call to action or something somewhere where people can put in their email and then you sign up. I would again be saying, do you just want to capture the leads, or are you promising like a newsletter that you'd be suddenly finding yourself being forced to do every week out of nowhere? Are you sure about this? But a newsletter pitch is a better feature to pitch me, because I am more willing to say that this would actually give you some value in the future. If you want to see mailing list, email capture, we can do it. Maybe we can do it in a rudimentary way, like all the emails get into a Google spreadsheet, like an Excel file or something like that, keeping it old school. But we'll see. Again, unless you work with a real person, a real client, you won't be able to preemptively predict all the things that they may want or they might not want to have on their website. So that's why it's a good idea. Work with real people, get some shots that you need to dodge, I would say. You roll with the punches, and that's a key asset for any engineer, being able to roll with the punches. All right. Anything else from my agenda here? So we've done the styling setup. We've done error pages as well, something I've added last time too. Maybe I'll open it up here. I've added my switchy, my desktop switcher really doesn't want me to stay on that page for some reason. It's fixed now. I've added a hidden error page, which actually throws an error and shows what the user would see. So you won't have to force an error somewhere in your app, and then you forget to uncommit this error, you forget to leave it out, or you leave a comment and you are in trouble. So I do like having this. I do like having like a secret error page. If you're worried that people will find out the name and then they'll spam it, and then you'll get server logs for errors or whatever, then you can make it like something that's less possible to get. Like, you know, super secret error, or Panther 2, or, you know, put it in a crazy parameter that only you know. But keeping it simple, like don't preemptively try to counter against these sort of malicious hacks. And is it that malicious? You just get like this image. It's not the end of the world. So we designed this lovely page last time as well. And in addition, the error pages, which look quite familiar. So error handling, not found page handling, some of the other things we did. The biggest one has to be the internationalization. Biggest in value, most possibly. And code, I think we spent quite a few hours there. And the Paraglide.js library that we're using is still in active development. Still has some issues with Svelte 5 and doesn't even work on strict runes mode, but it works enough, and that's cool enough for us. I did amend a little bit how this dropdown works to make it more dependently work and change the language correctly. So that's some manual work that in theory you won't need to do if you're watching in the future, and Paraglide.js has been updated to like a stable 1 point something version. But now feel free to check out the repo to see how I've done it. And the other thing we did was test the internationalization as well. So we did say that we have quite a few playwright tests running. So let me run them now with PNPM. We have one smoke test that makes sure to click every important link on your website and that they see the correct thing. Helps with accessibility, helps with SEO when you're using selectors like get by role. Oh, there's one that maybe on Safari is like a bit flaky. I've never seen it fail, so I won't count it flaky, but we'll see. Because the contact page is the important one. I guess we're also testing that one individually. Does it have the correct links to our socials? So that's an independent test. And we have one for the language switcher. So it could be the case that this is just an incorrectly flaky test, or it could be that the playwright is telling me that there is something dodgy with the way I've done it, and that I should better look into it. Maybe every 3 clicks, like the 4th one gets ignored or something. Seems like it works. But the way we've written the spec, let's have a look. And it is once again a case where writing the test and playwright helped me write a more accessible website. What I do is I just check for the content link, because I think that's the most important link here. We want people to reach out and contact us. So I just find any part of the page and check if it's there, and check that it's there in the correct language. Then I click the switch language button, and that's something that I didn't have. I didn't have this drop down, have an accessible button that said switch language. It said English, which may not be clear enough. It's like someone that is just reading it or is having this announced to them, and they just hear English, and they're like, okay, like is this the language switcher? Maybe they know, because some websites do it like that. But we've changed the label there. We have a screen reader only element that says switch language, and therefore it's clear to people switch language. Currently it is English. And then we're saying click Greek, and then we expect that this contact one becomes epikoinonia, which is the Greek way to say the Greek word for contact. You could also say epikoinoniste, which would be you contact me, like something like that. You should contact. Epikoinonia is like communication. Anyway, that's by the by. No machine translation for that. I actually did it, but I did do machine translation for the Spanish version, and kinda read it, because yo entiendo español un poquito más que yo hablo. We do the same thing. We click the switch language button, which maybe even that one should be localized to the language you're currently reading. Maybe not. Maybe English, like the word language, I guess makes sense for the language switch button. Most people will understand this. I think citation needed for this, just an assumption on my part. Anyway, the test says click the button, click Spanish, and then you should see contacto instead of contact. And that's it. I guess we're not checking that you click English and it goes back to English. Maybe I should, actually. Maybe that's a good idea. But I won't now. I think I will just move on to the next subject. Maybe the other thing to note is that they've changed like the inline VS Code extension to be called Sherlock, and has like a Sherlock icon here, which caught me out. I was like, what did I install? And if anyone knows like the in-joke of calling this Sherlock, and it's an internationalisation library, I don't know, it's like the stories of Sherlock Holmes, the most translated book in the world, probably not. But I don't get the joke, but it's cute. Anything else we changed? We had at the end of the stream, we were detecting the user's language based on the preference they've set in their browser. So in Chrome, you can say, show me sites in priority order of like Greek, English, Spanish, and then they'll do their best to request the site like that. We had the functionality here to detect the user's preferred language, and we had it working, but it was a bit flaky with the way it works with a Paraglide JS library and how they're doing like some rerouting. And I felt that it's better to just have the language switcher and don't try to be too clever with the user language. It's sad, but if Paraglide goes to a stable release of 1, if Svelte 5 is also officially released, then I'd be more willing to debug it and do more work there. Because it is neat. On the other hand, I am sometimes annoyed. I guess I was going to say that I am annoyed when I go to a website and it shows up in Spanish, but that's because they're doing location-based translations, which is terrible. I'm just thinking of this and I'm going to go on a rant potentially, so maybe I need to abort. abort rant. But who thought that? I don't know. As a user, I have set whether I want English or Greek or whatever else in the browser. Checking that to render the page in that language is great. I think it's respecting my choices as a user. Change the language according to the location I'm visiting from in this day and age. Not a good idea. Like, it's cool. It's something that, you know, you can say, oh, I'm Vercel and I code on the edge. And an example is that I can see the user's location and then render the page according to their location. But you wouldn't actually use that. I don't think you'll find many people that do appreciate when that happens. Anyway, rant completed. And I do wonder, why is this kicking me out? Anyway, so internationalization recap, localization recap, done. The first thing we're gonna do is the favicon here. So we do have an icon design. The question is, how do we get it there? And let's go into our project yet again. In SvelteKit, besides the source directory, you have a static directory where you put in all your static files. We did put in an open graph image just to look nice if people share on like WhatsApp or Discord or Instagram or wherever else. I already met everyone, we'll talk about this in a moment. And we also have a favicon.png, which we haven't replaced. SvelteKit comes with it. If you run the SvelteKit wizard, you do get this favicon. So if you just replace this with your own favicon PNG, it's gonna work in most browsers. It's fine. Nowadays you can even do SVGs and stuff, but what we're gonna do is something that has more support than just serving the one favicon. Not the most important thing in the world, but it is nice to have. I think if we do 5 hours of the screen sliding for me to the incorrect window, everyone is gonna get dizzy. And I don't know why it's happening. It's whenever I go to this window. It's too risky to close any of these when the stream is going. So I will have to remember to slide like this, like an animal. Oh well. The other thing that we are going to use a tool like Favicon, a real Favicon generator. I have a link in the description. There are many tools like it, but this one is the one I use. You put in your favicon image and then it gives you a million files in various resolutions that you're supposed to put in your website. And we'll do that. Not all of them are needed nowadays, but I do find that it is a handy tool. The other thing we'll run first, I suppose, is run this other tool for checking the Open Graph meta tags. So when you share on socials, for example, those apps do check for meta attributes in your site and render maybe nice pictures for you. And I think that's like an underrated feature, like #1 feature for SEO nowadays is actually this, because in reality, people share on Twitter, X, Threads, wherever, and they don't get engagement unless they have a nice Open Graph image. So it is actually very important to do this, more important than other SEO tricks from 10 years ago that people are still touting about. So let's see how we're doing there. So if we actually try to do our site, you'll see that we will have some, an ad came in. Fair enough. Every tool gets bought by ads, but not mine. Anyway, it's telling you about the title that it's found, the description, great, the image. They have templates for this. Wow. Like not endorsed by me. Like using this tool seems fine. Their maintenance like it yet again. If you were to share on Facebook, you'd see something like this. Twitter, blah blah blah. Discord even. That's nice. And I think some places would default to the favicon and therefore would show the not appropriate SvelteKit favicon here instead of our own. But if you have the Open Graph, then you're doing quite well. You can see that people do see the picture of the puppy and they're more likely to click, I would say. Hello, Lassa in the chat. It's a pleasure. Those streams have been going by so fast. They've been flying by because we're doing cool stuff. And I get the crowd chat energy as well. So I keep going. vibes-based streaming. So we're not doing too bad. I was expecting it to be worse, but we did have the cute open graph images already set up. We saw that when we were doing the layout stuff in the first stream, I believe 3 years ago. So let's just get into it and drop the Favicon here. Let's see if it's gonna work by dropping it on the button. It doesn't. I always appreciate when that is a feature. It's not today. Oh, it's a WebP. Maybe that's why it didn't work. Well, let's do Figma. So this is all the streams we've done. Whoa, quite a lot. Just in the last year. Since I am here, I guess I will talk about open graphs afterwards. Dynamic open graphs versus making your own. I will talk about them later. What I actually want is a frame. Free Figma tutorial by someone who doesn't particularly know Figma, but has worked on it for quite a while at this point. So let's do plugin icon, so a bit bigger. Let's do like 512. Oh, it doesn't snap on 12. Disaster. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to drop in this Favicon. It's even bigger actually. So maybe I will make the frame here. And export it as a PNG file. Now let's find it, select it. In theory, you could do this yourself, like all the various variations of your Favicon, but you don't really need to. There are some other nice things that this tool gives you that I never bother with, like changing the original image that you have. Did I actually export the correct thing? Looks like I didn't. Put this in frame. Figma tutorial, put things in the frame. If you want to export them, open the preview as well to confirm that you are exporting what you want. Replace this, try again. So it is nice from this tool that it does give you the preview, so what you're going to get in the end, so you can better design it. This is what we're going to get in the end. They have light and dark mode, that's nice. This is if they install the app, just fine. Windows Metro from many years ago, you'll never see this. If they actually put it here, so maybe the theme color, maybe that's something. What color is this? No, it's happening again. So Figma, eyedropper, this color, get it. Remember the theme color, slightly unreadable. We will need to go darker. So we just pick different place for image. This one, why not? Why not? All right. And then, because it does give you a helper file for the setup, it does ask you where you'll actually be placing the icons, and we'll be placing them straight in the root, because that's most compatible with most browsers, and less work for us. We need to specify fewer things. Why do people put ads? It's because people don't click the support button. Sorry. And we get a zip file with many things to add in our app. many versions of our Favicon in different resolutions. We've all been doing an MS style. Let's get serious. Maybe not a pin tab. Would they ever pin this thing? Probably not. It doesn't hurt because it's not going to be requested unless they do. But hey. But these we will actually be using. So let's find this directory. We said it's going to be the static directory. And drag and drop everything in there. Then we can explore what's happening. So this browser config is for the MS style, I believe, so you can delete this. The web manifest, we are going to say that maybe... I'm going too deep into this. Like I wouldn't be doing it for dark mode and light mode and all that. But mainly, you do want to fill in the name here. Then the icons, it's pointing to the icons that we just downloaded and added here. And then this theme color, if you are running this app in like windowed mode, this web manifest can also turn your app into a web app, and therefore people can install it and they can run it potentially standalone or whatever you specify here. And in that case, the bars will be a different color. I guess some browsers and operating systems do style other elements of their UI according to the theme color you specify. So in Safari, if you scroll, maybe you'll see that some things are going to be like white or purple, whatever color you put in here. So let's claim, and we won't worry about what do we do for light mode and dark mode. We'll just pick a few colors here. But they're using this format, so we need a converter. Because I don't have the science in my head to do it. This UI just like this modern color space based colors, not hex values. Cool. So let's say that this is our theme color, even though in light mode it's like maybe pink. This should arguably be consistent, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's get to the HTML, which is the thing that sets the background color. Will anyone notice if you don't do this? I will, but I will never tell you off. You're doing a great job. We're all doing a great job. So, Favicon.icon browsers from 20 years ago would only look for this, and no matter what you tell them, they wouldn't look for anything else. So you need to have one. It's a good idea to have one. You don't need to have one nowadays. And some different resolutions of the Favicon. Some of them get automatically downloaded according to their name. So, what other section are we getting? They're saying to put this in the head section. Of course, we do have one head section. We have a common root layout where we're putting stuff like our meta tags, or dynamic meta tags, and this is where we'll be putting stuff that ain't dynamic as well. So let's see, what are we missing? We're saying the Apple Dots icon is this one, but it will just work. I guess so. I was remembering that older SvelteKit, you needed to have a template for the asset. Ah, yeah, of course. Instead of the layout, maybe it's a better idea to do it on the app HTML, the static one, because it never changes. And this one is the one that has a prefix that will need to be added. So here we go. Let's say that the Apple Touch icon will be asset path. This is the root, but maybe you've configured something else on your Svelte JS. So just add in this here. This is the web manifest. I think we kept the Safari Twin tab. No tile color, thank you very much. And we are claiming that the theme color is this one for some reason. And I think that's all of them. And interestingly, they're not specifying the default favicon here. They're not telling us to specify the default. I guess they are assuming that browsers will magically pick it up because it is the default, because it's favicon.icon. So this one can forget about. Great. So saving this, we'll see that this appears immediately, and the moment we deploy our live site, we'll have it as well, and we may get the window. Do you want to install this as a web app as well, because of having the manifest JSON? So I think that's it for favicons. So we're off with a fun start. Everyone likes seeing like nice favicons. Well, I like seeing nice favicons on my browser, especially since I don't have like millions of tabs. I do like it when they break up the text with something like this. Let me know what you think. On Open Graph images, so I've always said so far, and it still holds true, Next.js is better. I think it's like the one thing that it has over SvelteKit nowadays. Dynamic Open Graph image generation. You can't do it with SvelteKit and what we're doing in an app like the one we're building here, but it's just much more pleasant to do in Next.js. They take care of things of like cast busting and stuff. You can write JSX, which is much easier to write than JavaScript, than the JavaScript that JSX actually compiles to, and you'd have to do that ugly JavaScript in SvelteKit because it still doesn't support TSX files for server routes. So if I can get away with just having a designer or myself getting into Figma and designing an Open Graph image for myself, like, you know, these ones, and then you just select one nice image, maybe you have the logo in there, maybe you have a nice text, you don't need too many, then I just do that. I just have the designer do it, I do it myself, and provide the Open Graph image, which is what we've done for this project. That's why we get these puppy images. But if you do have truly dynamic content, if you do have things like fetching from the database, so you won't be able to design for advance a million possible images. Let's give a great example for GitHub. GitHub has amazing Open Graph images. If we were to put in GitHub here. Hello, Andreas. Nice to see you in the chat. I'm glad you're finding them useful, and thank you so much for telling me. I love the feedback. Actually, the first stream, which was an awesome stream, I do think we learned a lot, has been blowing up. Like yesterday, suddenly it got like a lot of views and a lot of likes, but it has gotten no comments, no extra comments. So I'm not sure if it's bots or not, if it was linked somewhere, and I am actually helping people. So thank you very much for telling me, because I always do it for real people. I never do it for the views or anything like that. So if you find them helpful, I'm delighted. I'll keep doing them. Right, so GitHub, awesome Open Graph images. Look how dynamic they are. Maybe I should have picked a more popular project than mine, this Svelte critic one. But look, it has this person's Favicon. There are like millions of GitHub users. It has the unique name of the repository. It has stats like the contributors, 0 issues, nice one, the stars, how many forks, the name, even the nice breakdown of the languages. So orange is Svelte, blue has to be TypeScript, and one of them, it may be like YAML, Markdown YAML. I don't actually know. That's interesting. Yellow, JavaScript, I'd say. And this one, YAML. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is super dynamic. You cannot design this in advance. You cannot find enough designers to design enough open graph images every time like a star gets here. You need to design this dynamically. There are a few ways to do this. Some of them we've tried and we've shown in the stream, like having browsers get in the site and take screenshots essentially. The modern way, Next.js, Vercel actually does provide. It's called the Vercel Open Graph, and Next.js has a first-class integration with it. And essentially, you write some JSX or the JavaScript that JSX compiles to, and then what you get is dynamic text. So you pull the avatar of the person on the backend, and you write this weird code, and it puts it how you want it. It styles it like you specify. It's kind of like rendering a web page, but it's for your open graph image. With Next.js, it works amazing. With Svelte, it is more boilerplate. We will be doing it probably if the project we're working with really depends on something like that, on dynamic content like that. This is a portfolio site. You don't need it. Just put in your efforts in designing an open graph image yourself in Figma or whatever you're using. Let's talk. Thank you as well for telling me. You're welcome. My pleasure. Cool. So this is the deployed site, and we can see that we've pushed the code and already we have the open graph there. Nice, professional. So coming up, Millhouse. So next, instead of spending your time figuring out dynamic images, open graph images for a portfolio website, which has like 2 routes, let's figure out something that you will need in the future if you start interfacing with a database, if you start having dynamic content. Maybe you bring in stuff from the Google spreadsheet we were talking about earlier. And you will be better poised to do so after we've done the routing stuff. So we have the main page here, we have the core route, and we have the contact page. We've done 2 routes, and we're saying that we want to click see more and go to the route for summer, the one that has tons of pictures of our lovely puppy Summer. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we need to decide where we want that route to be. So do we expect that users would be going to like /summer, or would they be going to like pets /summer, or friends /summer? Design this in advance. So let's say that we want them to go to friends /summer. We cannot find this page. We have not defined it. How do we define this page? We've said that in Svelte you go for in source, routes, and then the directory from routes needs to reflect what the user puts in here. So we need to put friends, summer, these 2 directories, nested directories, and then in there we need dramatic plus page.svelte. The moment you do that, the page is found. It's just we have no contact here, and we say hello from summer. And then you could do this for every friend that you have, and I hope you have many friends, but it would get trickier. So we could design this page for summer, maybe extract a component that takes in a few parameters like the pet name and some photographs and that sort of thing. So we don't need to copy paste that much, but we still need to hard code here and copy paste the, how many? 6. I guess we have 6 items here. Every time you want to add something, then you need to be creating a new page. So let's first make this go to the correct route. This is the pet card component. And in here we have the href that we just said goes to the home page, which is not correct. Where we wanted to go, we just said is in friends slash, let's say the name to lowercase, not local lowercase. Let's not localize the name. I'm always Johnny, I'm not Ioannis in Greek. Technically correct. So now, if I click summer, it does get there. If I click Winston, page not found because slash friends slash Winston doesn't work. Again, we could copy paste this directory, call this Winston after you've done and the component, and then you get in there and you change the pet specific stuff. If you have a component, that's a bit less work, but still, we're engineers. We don't want to repeat ourselves that much. We do want to change places, change things in one place, and then it affects many others. So for example, if I did have the full style for this page, and then I decided, oh, I want the first image to be a bit bigger, and I want a smaller grid for the rest of the images, I wouldn't want to go to this page and make my changes, then copy paste them here. It's just going to be a mess. Even if we were to extract some components for this page to use, it's just not ideal. Even though we will be working with a limited amount of data in this portfolio marketing page, because your friend or your client will only have like this many projects they want to showcase. It's best for portfolio sites anyway to not have like, you know, millions of projects and then you keep adding more. You want to curate the projects that you showcase in your portfolio website. So you tell them, show 3, show 6, show an X amount, a finite amount. So you won't have an unlimited amount like GitHub repos, which is theoretically unlimited, and you'd never be able to copy paste unlimited amount of times. You would have a reasonable amount of times to copy paste, but what's most reasonable is to use route parameters with SvelteKit. So SvelteKit has this cool thing, which has been inspired by other great routing solutions and has inspired a lot of great routing solutions. Things are converging in the meta frameworks, good ideas go together. There are the docs here. And what we want to do is this bracket slug functionality. So this doesn't mean that the user should be going to bracket slugs. They won't be put in like in the URL bracket slug. You won't be ending up there. It means SvelteKit, when you use brackets in the directory, it has a special meaning. It means that SvelteKit is going to capture this parameter for you to do as you please, to do something cool with it. So instead of having this Winston page plop massively, that's fine. Instead of having this summer page and the Winston page, we just want the one, but we want to make this dynamic. And we can call this /name. And we still make it to the same plus page.svelte, but now this name parameter is captured for us. So if we create a plus page .server.ts method, which we have done before for things like the fetching of the pets to begin with in the homepage here. We've seen this before in the very first stream. So we could even like copy paste the load method as well. So it doesn't depend on anything. Page server load will be collocated to here. One of the great things with SvelteKit is how many types it creates for you automatically, just by running the dev server. This is very sweet. And here, this method gets given params, so we can actually destructure, as GitHub Copilot is telling me, the name from the params. Or we can even destructure it inline here, and the autocomplete works because SvelteKit is awesome. And if we return the name here, we can go back to the UI, add a script tag, and then destructure data from the props. So this is Svelte 5. We've done this in the home route as well, or not const. We need to let. So Svelte get anything you return in your load method, in your server load method, in your page load method, anything you return here, SvelteKit will magically put it inside the props data. So indeed, it's also perfectly typed for us. We know that data now has a name because that's what we return. So if we do this, this one doesn't capitalize it, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we'll get to that. So summer still works, but if we go to Winston, that automatically works as well because it's capture the dynamic parameter that's in the URL. It's saying anything you put in here after friends, we're gonna capture it as name. And so on and so forth. So I copy and paste 0 times and I have this working for everything. However, speaking of rolling with the punches earlier, what if I see that this is lowercased, because I've lowercased it before to go to this URL, because that's how usually links are. I think we've arrived to the point where if we, even though theoretically you could do this uppercase with the name here, people get weirded out. They want URLs to be snake-cased. So because it's lowercase, it's not really the name. Maybe we should be calling it a slug, because I wouldn't be using it like this here. It feels wrong for the user to read it like this. So this isn't actually the name. This is actually the slug. And if I call this slug, you just change your mind. In Next.js, nothing would stop you from breaking production. You could commit this if you don't notice that something has gone wrong, which could happen if you have more complicated logic than get this parameter and show it in the UI. But in SvelteKit, you can see that this is immediately read because SvelteKit automatically knows what parameter it's capturing. And Next.js, it's not the end of the word, but you need to manually say that this component takes in props, and you need to remember that you are in a place which captures the slug parameter now, not the name parameter. So every time you refactor, you need to do this yourself. Not the end of the word, but especially if you have deeply nested routes, if you have like this friend, and then you have like ID or like a dynamic activity or whatever else, then it starts getting even more squirrely. Quite a lot of busy work that I don't want to do. SvelteKit does it for me, which is amazing. So SvelteKit knows that in here, now I have a slug. And therefore, will save me from shipping like completely broken code UI in production. Right, so that's one part of the routing. This is a cool thing that I hope does make it to Next.js as well. As I said, some things with this SvelteKit router have been inspired from things that Next.js did, after Next.js been a bit inspired from the SvelteKit router and Remix as well. So I like this cycle of nice thoughts and optimizations for the dev experience that all the meta frameworks are doing to each other. Every meta framework is inspiration for the other meta framework, which I think is quite cool. So yeah, this is a clear SvelteKit W for me. I hope it makes it to other frameworks. What am I going to do with this slug though? Even though we won't be talking to a database in this project, we still have a repo, a repository of all the pets. We still have this, and maybe one day we could refactor to talking to a database. So we're prematurely doing some good practices here, besides of showing different concepts. So maybe we want to say that we want to also have in this interface, get function which takes in a slug, maybe just a slug, could be ID, could be anything you want, which is a string, which eventually returns a pet. And then it would be like the pet has like more parameters, and actually we also want to return description and extra pictures and something like this. But we won't be doing it now. I will be doing it offline. If you want to check the code, I just think it will take too long to create that many pictures and that much content, especially since we're internationalizing. Anyway, we have this interface and we have the pets in memory repo, which is now saying that there's something wrong. It's not correctly implementing this new interface. What we need to implement is a get method. So let's do that. I'm sure there is like a VS Code shortcut to auto implement. But, I don't know it, sadly. So let's say that our get method takes a class, takes a slug, and returns just a single pet. And from all the pets that we have here, let's find the one where the pet name equals a slug. This is a good thing to test quickly with vtest as well, how you actually implement your interfaces here. And that could be a good use case. And I'm saying this because we do want to lowercase this, because we know that the slugs are always lowercase anyway. Or you could lowercase both. Or you could do two lowercase, which is the actual TypeScript one. I was thinking of a different language. And then I also realized that sometimes we may return null. Maybe we return that this doesn't exist. I think this returns or undefined, so we could return null here. All right, and the reason we're doing this is that we can go here and once again new up our pets repo like we do in the homepage. And saying that the pet is this, and return the pet. And let's say, let's be brave, don't return this. And in here, again, nice interop by Svelte. It is telling me this is wrong, this doesn't exist. We can have a pet here. But again, it's telling me that this may not exist. So you can see that now it is cased correctly because it's the actual name and not the slug. We can have like the description quickly. Favorite activity actually. So you can see we're fetching more data here. But I don't want the question mark, because if the page doesn't exist now, so if I say any other name, like give me any other name in the word, red, appropriate with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth releasing and Red 13, and for 18%. So here you get this broken UI yet again, because the pet you didn't find doesn't have a name and nor a favorite activity. But what happened? Like we had the page not found page. So why are we not getting there? We're not getting there because remember, we're doing this magic catch-all here. Anything you put in here is going to be valid and captured for you by Svelte. So no error, no not found pages anymore. This page, like anything under friends, will always be found. So it's up to us to programmatically tell Svelte that this hasn't been found. And for that, I don't think they have like a handier method to do this. I think you just need to use the helper method by Svelte git and say that it's a 404 not found. And you can have like a nice message if you want. And of course, we only want to do that if we didn't find a pet. Change in newer Svelte kit, this gets thrown for you. So you don't need to throw it, you don't need to return it, you don't need to do anything, you just let it happen here. Just never catch it, because this actually does throw an error behind the scenes for the Svelte kit to catch. You can see the moment we save, because we are in a made up pet that we don't have in our in-memory database. Yes, no, this needed, it is an in-memory database. We get to the error page here. And again, really sweet. Now I can remove the question marks because Svelte knows that this is always a pet, because we've done that check there. Svelte is smart enough to understand that since I'm doing this check for is it null, essentially, if it's null, then error. It knows that if we do get to here in the UI, this is always defined at this point. At here it's pet or null. From then on, it's always a pet. And here we go, summer. So I think these are the routing fundamentals. There are other things that we won't get into in this episode, like spread parameters, like catch all slashes. You could catch all of these, but we won't need it in this project, and if we don't need it in real projects, I'm not gonna explain them, because we go step by step. So let's take some inspiration from like any page, just to like, I won't go into a styling rabbit hole, I promise. I just want to quickly take inspiration from this page. And definitely use the paste handle. And this will be the pet name. And the image is going to be data pet here image source. And here we can just have the data pet favorite activity. Something like that. We must make it bigger, surely. All right, new plan. I think we have like a main container in other pages, like the contact page. That's a container, I guess so. There's a page title there. Put the image underneath. Have another section there. And offline, or maybe at the end of the stream, I may style this further, but for now this should be enough. So we have this, doesn't get ridiculously big. works for everyone, for good boys and girls. All good. And I think after my next sip of coffee, we'll get to list detail transitions. And once again, I will say, what's this 7 minute and 30 video? Because I am going to explain it better than I'm going to explain it now, if that makes sense. Because I do edit these videos heavily. I do know what I'm about to say. I do practice. So it is much easier for me to do when I've spent so much time in the video. So as you can see right now, because I'm fumbling my words. So I do recommend watching this video, but the essence of what we're doing here is this on the right, hero transition. So you click on something and then the image becomes bigger and it looks cool. It looks like you're using it on a phone. Well, but still, it's all about the memes for these videos. So have a look at that one. But that's the thing that we'll attempt to do here. So we click here and suddenly we have a nice transition of the image itself growing to go into the page. I think this slide is neat. Like already it looks nice. Maybe a bit shaky because we're scrolling up. But it will be even cooler when we keep this hero image in place. We have the illusion where we keep the same image in place. I think that's going to be sweet. So that's what we're going to do. So we've done a similar thing in the previous streams when we set up view transitions for the header and the footer. The header and the footer do stay in place because we gave it a view transition name. So the header here, we gave it a view transition name header. If we hadn't given it that, then it would keep sliding in from with the rest of the page. The moment you give it a unique view transition name, it stays in place and the browser kind of figures out what to do with it. By default it's in a crossfade, and since it hasn't changed places, it just looks still. So that's cool. And my immediate thought when I first learned about this is that what you could add here in the enhanced image, could say that this is a hero image, right? And let's say that style post CSS, hero image, view transition name, hero image. I'm going to make the same joke as in the video. So in this page, in the detail page, you can see that it breaks out already from the style, from the slide-in style of animation. We gave it a unique name, so it crossfades in really, but it's not crossfading out because we haven't given this attribute, this view transition name, to the old one. This one doesn't have it yet. So if we go to the pet card, this is the image. If we also give it a class of hero image or whatever, and we also do style post CSS, you'd expect the browser to be able to figure out that this hero image transitions to the other one. But the answer is no, that's not how it works. In fact, every navigation breaks when we are in a page that has multiple elements that share the same view transition name. View transition name needs to be unique. So the moment you're in a page where 6 elements have the same view transition name, view transitions break. They don't work at all. They still work if you're on a page that doesn't have a million view transition names, and interestingly enough, if you transition from this one to this one, for example, it still works. So long as both the before page, the page you're coming from, the page you're going to, doesn't incorrectly have elements that share view transition names, then you're good. But the moment this happens, the browser shows up. I think it's one of the things that may be resolved in the future. Everyone wants it to just work. Intuitively, that's how it would just work, but it is how it is now. It's clear no other element in this page can share this. It can share a view transition name. You think that the browser would know that the user is clicking here and therefore it's related to like this here image. It's actually complicated, so it makes sense that the browser doesn't figure it out. Which one of like 6 elements, which one you're going to. You know where you're going to. The browser doesn't know where you're going to. So what do? One of the things we can do is, and we may actually leave it at that today, is to add like a unique ID here, like a unique ID according to what this item is. We already have this concept of a slug, so what we really need is like the name of the pet here. But that's kind of like unnecessarily hard to do in CSS. So inline styles for the rescue, there's always a place for inline styles. Instead of having a class, we're still gonna say here, view transition name here image, and then the name. So long as we remember that this is what we want, we don't need to lowercase it, just the name. That's fine. We're claiming that the unique ID of all these boys and girls is their name. And the exact same thing for our other page, for the detail page. So here, no more classes. No need for this. We do want inline style. Here the name is in data pet name. And now, when calculations are correct, it works. Awesome. And if it's actually like on a grid, then it's a bit nicer. You can see it like growing a bit more. There you go. Good enough view transitions, I would say. Let's see it on the big screen as well. There you go. And this is a great point to add multiple widths for your images, because you know that the thumbnails here, the images in the cards are always going to be kind of smaller, but this one maybe you want it to be like the whole of the page, but it gets to a point that maybe it's going to be ridiculously big. So not sure what you want to do, but this looks nice by default. You can see it going out and in, and it's sweet. However, you will notice that now when we're on the main page and we go to the contact page, the images don't slide out anymore, because they already have their unique view transition name, and we're saying break out from the default animation, like do your own thing. But we only want them to do your own thing, to do their own thing, when we are transitioning from the card to somewhere else. And again, in the video, I do show how this works. I'm not sure if it's worth it to show it now, actually. And there is a library, which I think it's Svelte view transitions. This one by Paolo, who does have helpers for that sort of situation. But I would say, like, watch the video to understand what we're trying to do, and then use a library to make that easier. So first understand what we're trying to do, and then potentially use a library to do the hard work for you. But that's the idea. Like, I do think this is the most common scenario, and that's what most people would notice. You click on a puppy, and then this image becomes huge, and then they're happy, and they won't really notice, like, even the slide out is not that bad. Will they notice that the card is sliding to the left while the image is disappearing? Now that I've told you this, then you definitely notice. But if you want to save on, like, you know, maybe 60 lines of code, then you don't need to do anything further. So we could leave it at that. I'm sure that I'll go behind the scenes and do this later. In any case, what else do we have for today? Not that much, so maybe we will do it. Tracking analytics. So that's important because the clients will tell you, well, is anyone coming? Where they're coming from? What's happening? And the most popular solution is Google Analytics, but it has the creepy implications. It has the good thing that it's free, but it's free for a reason. And lots of people are kind of fighting against it. There are lots of startups coming up whose product is more privacy friendly, less creepy tools for things that Google specifically has. We've talked about fonts before, actually. Anyway, Vercel, for one project, if you're on the free tier, you can have enough analytics enabled for them, and it is pretty straightforward to set up. You install a package via npm, I guess is in our case, and then you go into this layout file, plus layout.ts, which we haven't created yet. We've only created a server layout, and then you inject the analytics script, and that's it. What's even better, but is paid for, and you do get like one of these for free, but something that's been a product for a bit longer and has quite a lot of analytics, and you can see that I use it for like many sites, including mine. Hey, is plausible. Again, up to you. Like, you can still use Google Analytics. Of course, you do need to pay for this, but how you're supposed to use this tool, because I do think the Vercel solution is pretty straightforward. So I'm not going to show that. I'm going to show this one, which is more similar to Google Analytics as well. So we do need the main domain of the website. The Vercel solution is also sweet because since you're deploying to Vercel, it can figure out whether you are in the correct domain or not, which domain you're on. That's quite cool. You just set up where you're deploying to. Ideally, a domain you've bought, but I do have a problem with buying domains, so maybe don't take it from me. It's like, pay for more domains, pay for tracking. Come on, Sonny, we're not made of money. You will be if you follow this tutorial and start creating portfolio marketing sites, and eventually more and more complex applications. I do honestly believe that. I think this is a great way to get into tech, and actually why I switched into game dev, into web dev instead of game dev, because especially back in Greece, it was much more realistic to create websites for people for money instead of creating video games for nothing. And that still holds true today. Web engineers, we are better paid than game devs, and we work less hard, maybe, or we work as hard with good compensation. Anyway, huge subject, we don't need it. All they're telling us, all they need here, maybe, let's say, first, feature, and title views with people rights with user listens. So let's do that. And then to add on analytics, they're saying put this script somewhere in the head of our website. And we've seen this, we know where this is. This can either be in your layout file or your app HTML. Since it's not dynamic, I would put it here. If you want to do something like overly clever, like only put this in production and not like dev environments or something like that, if you do need dynamic value, I would do it in the layout file, but I just do it in the static app HTML. It is a deferred script, so it won't be hurting your core web vitals. It only loads eventually. And the way it works by magic is that the plausible script that eventually gets loaded is using the data domain attribute here, the data attribute domain, to figure out that it should be on that project. And that's it. We can add this, make another commit. And we can deploy both. Vercel has a separate one about their speed insights, which tracks a lot of things, including the core web vitals. So I guess we could have a look. Just for variety, I suppose. I have used it for JOHNNIFY. This one. Not this one. This one. So on this one, I am using the web analytics instead of plausible because I do like to try tools out. So I'm able to have preferences, more educated preferences. I've tried things out and I like these and I don't like these as much. It does have the speed insights as a separate thing that you need to buy, which is cool because it is better than the Lighthouse score because it tracks how long the core web vitals took, how you're scoring on core web vitals and more, according to real user devices. So they're not running this tool against your website with a fake browser or anything like that. Like, it's tracking how long real users took to reach these critical events, like first contextual paint, large contextual paint, interaction next page to next paint, the new core web vital, cumulative layout shift 0, great, first input delayed, all of those. And it's pretty nice. Does fluctuate according to where you people are visiting from, and no one is visiting on mobile. Interesting. Interesting. Lots of people going on premium. But plausible. And did I press this? Someone should go there. If you want your country to be represented, this is your chance to visit the website. If this did actually deploy. Did 52 seconds ago. It's here or there. Oh, I have like a blocking thing for tracking stuff. Shamefully, I have an ad blocker, so it also breaks this script. And so maybe can go like with this. I think it doesn't have it. This one. Do I have this extension everywhere? Don't think so. Did I actually commit this? I did. Is this script on the website? It is. Snippet looks correct. Is what they told me. Is it on the website? I guess that's the next thing to debug. Did I put it in the head? It's not. Did I dream of this? Did this not build? What happened? It's definitely not here. And I did post this commit. But it's not the one I was mentioning, is it? Add analytics script. Did I just not push it? What are you doing, Vercel? So the last commit is indeed the data analytics script, but it didn't build. Interesting. So why did it not trigger the build? Let's update the README, which is like, I wonder if it's trying to do something clever and only look in the source directory, but of course we updated the static directory, so it should be fine. Did Vercel see that I'm gonna be using a different analytics script? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna build this. Come on. Maybe Vercel finally decided that I need to pay for him. So it's not gonna be building anything anymore. That could be it. Time to upgrade to like JOHNNIFY, to the team plan. Could be it. So yeah, that's not building. What CSS could we quickly add to see if it is that we're not doing anything on the directory? What a coincidence. So yeah, this updated just fine. What Vercel is just refusing to check. Continuously generated. Check again. Git settings. It's saying it's did it. It's doing it as expected. Interesting. It happens. I do think it's like a generic problem with the GitHub integration, which I had never seen this not triggered before. I've seen deployment being triggered and then being queued or paused for ages, but never seen this. I'm sure it will be resolved. In the meantime, what else could we do? We could try to do like this sort of layout. We could try. So I'm not sure how it's gonna look. We could try also making the title enlarged and get into it. I don't think having the title be in front of the picture, it's cool for some projects, and that's why I did put it in here. But thinking about it, the highlight of a photographer is their pictures, so you wouldn't want to do like a video or a photo and then put their put some letters that are actually going to be the focus. So let's reestablish the learnings and do the header as well. Make the header fly. So in the pet card, in the title, we also want to have a pretensious name. Hero name. And in the pets page, friends page even. Same thing. Guess it's best to copy this. Oh, and we'll need to allow page title to also get the style attribute. I think we called it hero name. We're not going to be doing rest props for this. Maybe we will eventually. So now you can see it sliding. It is a bit weird because it goes like behind the picture. But let's merge regardless. Transition for the heading this time. Oh, there you go. GitHub deployments not being auto-generated. Great. Did any one of you tell them this? There are so many projects in Vercel, I'm sure they got calls. It happens with live demos, but it was, again, quite funny. That it happened the moment we did the non-Vercel tracking. Commit or branch reference. Here they say commit reference, but here it says commit or branch reference. So let's see. So it was the GitHub integration. We were correct. It's good because I love proving that things work. And I'm just thinking of our next steps. Any particular things that you'd want me to try? I think for the next stream, maybe we will do the mailing list capture, the email capture. If you want, I've also had requests in the Discord and other people in the comments tell me that useful components to learn how to design and use would be things like models, like this one, and drawers, sidebars, that sort of thing. And I think the interest is because lots of libraries don't work with Svelte 5, or especially with Svelte 5 strict runes mode. But the cool thing with Daisy UI is that you can take inspiration of how to make your own vanilla HTML and CSS model that doesn't need any JavaScript and therefore will work in Svelte 5 and in fact any framework or no framework if you are a madman or a madwoman. But you will need to know a few things like how does this actually work. You can copy paste this and then you get what Daisy UI thinks is a cool model, which I think is a cool model as well. But maybe you have other thoughts, maybe you don't like how it looks, how would you style it? We can do this together. But it doesn't really make sense for this website. I guess for portfolio or marketing, if you do have email capture, maybe you'll have someone telling you if they are in the site for a while, I want a pop-up to come, or if they scroll all the way down, I want a pop-up to tell them to sign up for the newsletter. That's another thing that I would fight against, because I hate when I see this. I dislike it very, very much. But I know that it works. So if the client really wants it, then I could be convinced to do it. After all, you want to make the client happy. And some people do find utility in this. Not every person is me. So that's important to know, that other people have different likes. So if your client wants it, you do it. So that's how I would feature reject a model for this type of website, but it would definitely be an option for more complicated things we do in the future. And as well, not navbar, what do they call them? Must be like a sidebar type of thing. Menu. Yes? No. Not tab. Tab would also be useful, I suppose. Not steps, not button navigation. These are also cool. Drawer, there you go. So this one, open the drawer, and this opens on the side. Where's the JavaScript? No JavaScript, just works. And that's kind of cool. So we could do that. It definitely works with Svelte 5 because it's HTML and CSS. It doesn't use the $column Svelte 4 and below stuff. So that's something that people want, maybe in combination with how to do a hamburger menu, which was a very early video of mine that I've enjoyed. You know, you press the hamburger menu in the corner, turns into an X, and then you have this slide in. That would be fun to do for sure. But again, for a site like this, you really want to optimize the user experience, and you want the users to have the fewest amount of options possible. You don't want them to have like a million links at the top and they don't know when what to click. And we have achieved that in this use case. If you actually wanted to have like 6 links here, then yeah, you would need a hamburger menu to hide them in on mobile devices. But we don't in this case. So I wouldn't be doing it. But it seems very likely for the next project. So I wanted to like buy 30 seconds and then I bought 5 minutes. Let's see if anything ever worked. Here. This is because I'm blocking stuff. Yeah, no. Plausible script is in, great. I don't think it's blocked. I think it will eventually go. You can visit the website and see what happens. Ah, so they have been here. Yeah, all right. So it worked all along. And the thing with plausible, which you don't get for some reason, for Vercel, I'm sure they'll have that feature at some point. It's that you see whereabouts in the world people are and can drill in the location. Because, you know, Spain is big and US are big, like India is big, like so many places are quite big and insane. And it would be nice to be able to drill in and see whereabouts in Spain this happened, whereabouts in the US this visit happened. They know, they just don't visualize it in Vercel. I'm sure they'll expose that information. Google Analytics, again, does have everything and it's free. So if you want to go with that, go with that. Also has the bonus that if you work for someone, like 99.9% of the time, they'll have Google Analytics. So you'll be more into grips with how that works. You'll be able to impress them maybe in the interview, but maybe you'd impress them even more if you say, well, actually, I'm using the privacy-friendly analytics tool Plausible, not Google Analytics. I don't know. If you can sell it, then you will sound cool. If not, if you talk like me, then you'll sound like a nerd. So be careful with that. Anyway, this is the analytics stuff. And we also deployed the little transition here, plonk. It works. And just because I do such a better job in the video of describing the code to make the image still slide out with a card, if you're doing all the other transitions here, I will leave it for the video. And I think this is going to be it for today. I did show Svelte critic, so maybe just to do like some styling here. I can steal the design from here to make this be the same height. You can see that the images are all the same height, but because the paragraphs are different, then some cards are bigger than others, which I think gives it like this sort of masonry layout look that actually looks kind of nice. But symmetry is also very pleasing, so maybe we want that. I'm not sure. It just actually happened by accident that you have a small card, big card alternating. That's just a lucky coincidence, for sure. So I may leave it at that, actually. Well, in this one you can see that no matter how big the title is, the cards take the same space. That's the old deployment. Didn't have the link. This has the link. Yeah, I think I like the design. I think I am gonna leave it at that. Maybe we'll add like one more image here. No, let's make this image even bigger. So how would that work? Let's make that be like an image message something. Let's have it be the last thing of today, as it was on the very first stream. So we are importing the images with something called Svelte enhanced image. This tool, which after you do this setup, it will just import your images. You just import them like this. You add the enhanced parameter and it will just work. But if you remember, because our images are huge, we have actually specified that we want them this big. We want them smaller, much smaller than they are. But what you can actually do with widths is specify different sizes that you may want your images in. So commonly, like in smaller viewports, you may have them smaller or you may have them bigger. In this case, we do know what the maximum size is for these images. It's this big. But when you go like to this page, then they can get quite a lot bigger. So we do need one more size. We need to specify one more size here. We need it to be at least doubled. Is it? No, that's what we had before. Oh, how did that happen? It's quite fun. 768. Is that what we requested? Yeah, but we want it doubled. It's exactly double the resolution for it in displays to account for those. So I think it's gonna be comma and then the double resolution. And even though I did get an award in math back in the day, now to save myself, I will use a calculator to do this. So we will be requesting these two sizes, and I think this will just work by default. I don't think we'll need to specify yet another size for this. Maybe we will. We're not in Retina display mode, unfortunately, so we can't test this. I can't tell you if it worked crisper. So the moment you do this parameter, the moment you specify for a width, I want two versions, 768 and this, you can do as many as you wish. Then the Vite, because it is using the adapter for the enhanced images tool, will create two versions of your image. And then the library itself will specify some rules on which size you're gonna use by default. And I think the ones that they specify by default are fine. And that's why we don't need to specify anything further, but not sure. So that's kind of what we're doing here. The smallest out of these two. So yeah, I think this is it. I think the only thing that we need to show was this, the extra width parameter, and then that according to what your design is, you may need to specify sizes with more granularity, but we don't need to, I don't believe, in this case. So I think this is going to be it for today. Again, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see more of. I do read everyone that YouTube shows me, at least. I don't know if it's cuts in something that it thinks it's spam. Sometimes it does do false positives on that. But I do think this is going to be it for today. Also, check out the Discord. Lots of cool suggestions there. Code even that you may find useful. If you want this starter, I do suggest following along. Again, make money by sliding into DMs and offering people, even if you're just getting into engineering, maybe especially if you're getting into web dev for the very first time. Reach out now, start discussing it, code along with me, and you'll have a project that will be worth it for someone else, or find a person you like and gift them something. Gift them a portfolio page to your favorite photographer friend, or if they have like a little shop, do their marketing page, do it for their birthday, something sweet like that. If you can find someone to pay you to do this, do it like that. That would also help. But if you don't particularly want to watch 15 hours of stream and code, or just like 13 hours of stream and code, you could also go for JOHNNIFY Premium. You get access to the private GitHub of the organization, and with potentially more up-to-date code, because I will go back into this and update things if things ever break, or if cool features get suggested and I just don't happen to have a live stream, a relevant live stream. Feel free to do it, only if you have the means. I do think it's value. It's not exactly just a Patreon thing where it's just to support me. I do think there is value in this. It's a technique I use to fulfill contracts and consultancies as well and get a head start. So you can find out this project if you want with JOHNNIFY Premium. And then maybe you can see me code it. You can try to code along or try to find the relevant places. It's easier. Like I always say that I really appreciate it for Final Cut Pro when I was learning Final Cut and Motion and like After Effects and those things. I always appreciated the patterns that were like, here's how you do it, here's a tutorial. And then if you just want the finished result or to compare and contrast, then here it is. If you're a patron, you get the download. That's the idea here. So with my, even my iPad failing and me not being able to see the screen for just a moment, I will be calling it a stream. I think we will be seeing a second screen, a behind the scenes second screen for the moment, but it's been a pleasure to stream again today. We'll be back next Tuesday. Maybe we'll be doing the capture. Maybe we'll be doing the email capture. If you ask for it, maybe we'll be moving on to a different project. But that's gonna be it for today. So, apologies for the iPad setup and the multiple screen view. I don't know how this happened. Well, I do know the iPad flaked out in the end. We're back. All right, stream can go on, but it will not for now. Again, I hope you have amazing weekends, and I'll catch you all next Tuesday. Have a lovely month as well. March already, spring is here, Barcelona is shining, the birds are out. Can't wait for that tree to start blooming again. It's gonna be amazing. Thank you very much. I'll catch you all later.